What's up, everyone? In this video, we have so much to talk about. Meta stock, formerly known as Facebook, continued to get destroyed today in after hours. It's all the way down to 115, and this stock has all-time highs at $353. In this video, we're going to go over what the heck is happening to Meta, some great stocks to watch for tomorrow and the rest of this week, because tomorrow will be one of the craziest days of at least probably the past couple months. There are some very key economic data points set to release and some huge earnings that you will not want to miss. And then on top of that, at the end of today's video, we have a $1 million options trade on a stock that's very low right now and has a ton of potential heading into the next couple weeks and months. Stick with us today, guys. This video is important.
Yeah, Mike. And, today in the market was pretty bloody. I will say a lot of key tech stocks were falling off. NVIDIA was down. Google, Microsoft, and Meta were all down, as obviously all three of those guys have reported earnings over the past couple of days. And even Amazon fell, heading up into earnings tomorrow. Like you said, we're going to have a lot of key events going on. We did see some good movement, though, out of some credit card stocks like Visa and MasterCard. But let's get into the nitty-gritty stuff. With Meta, Mike, this was a pretty bad move to the downside. They fell below key supports that I have at 127 and at 121. So they are obviously down a lot. Hopefully they can end up recovering back up a little bit because the earnings weren't too bad, Mike. But obviously right now, the big thing is they're really going to look at this ad spending going into the next year. They've had downgrades by Bank of America, and on the earnings today, they came in at 1.64 EPS versus a 1.89 expectation. So they missed there, but they did beat on revenue, which was good to see. They came in at 27.71 billion versus 27.38. So not the worst, Mike. The daily active users were right as expected, and the monthly active users actually beat a little bit. So I think that's good to see, at least. I know a lot of people have been worried about those active user numbers, so it's good to see those coming in as expected. But there's been a lot of issues, Mike. I know Apple has done some privacy updates that's obviously hurt their ad revenue. And like we said, just a lot of companies are cutting back on ad spending right now.
Yeah, so the main thing to know is that Meta brought in more revenue than what everyone was expecting them to, but they brought in less profit than what everyone was expecting them to. So that wasn't the best. And like Tom said, just the digital ad spend industry as a whole has been brutal over the past couple of quarters. You look at a company like Meta or Google or Snapchat or anything like that, and it's been really tough over the past year. So Meta is kind of working against that giant just economic point, you can say. And then on top of that, Meta has had stagnant user growth. So it's been a little bit tough, but they are expected to grow their users by, I believe, 3% heading into the next quarter, which is great. But the main thing to know with Meta is that, yes, obviously the stock has been beaten down quite a bit. It's at a low level. For me, this is a company for the long term. For the short term, it's brutal. No one knows the bottom. There's a lot of bearish momentum right now, and it's just tough. There's a lot of selling pressure. It's a tough stock right now. It's really, really selling off.
Yeah, and it's at new yearly lows, but they are investing a lot of money right now into the metaverse, and I like to see that. They're really pushing for the future. I know they're also getting into those headsets quite a bit, which is key for the metaverse too. So they are investing heavily into the future, Mike. And as we know, those costs obviously end up weighing on some companies like this. And then we add in the ad revenue stuff, and obviously it just makes for a bad time here. But I still think it's a good stock, Mike. I'm going to continue to average into it on the way down. And honestly, it's almost like a blessing in disguise it went down for me, Mike, because now I get to average in even more.
Yeah, I mean, Meta just prints money. They're in a great financial position. Realistically, they are not going anywhere anytime soon. They, like you said, they're investing a lot into the future. So while this dip has been pretty brutal, I'm just going to keep slowly buying it because, like you just said, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people get really worried when we have sell-offs and obviously bad earnings like this. But keep in mind, guys, the whole market has honestly been really bad this year. It's been going down, honestly, since the beginning of 2022. So it's not just Meta. A lot of stocks are down too, and a lot of stocks have also been making recent lows. So I just want to point that out because it's not just like it's Meta here having an issue. You know, a lot of people are arguing we're in a pretty bad recession right now. I know some people say we're not, some people say we are, but you know, obviously we're going to have some tough situations in the market.
Well, it depends if you just want to change the definition of a recession, Tom. Some people like to change the definition.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's supposed to be 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. And talking about GDP, Mike, that is going to be a huge thing for tomorrow. So we're actually expecting a nice jump on the previous reading. We had GDP come in at negative 0.6%. They're looking at 2.4% for tomorrow, which is really nice. So we're not going to have a negative reading, hopefully, if it comes in somewhere near that expectation. But these numbers are going to come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow, Mike. That's a pretty cool thing to see. I know this is going to cause a lot of volatility in the market, and maybe it can help make up for some of Meta's negative price action here.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, GDP data is always very important. And on top of that, we do have the European Central Bank set to increase their interest rates, which is a good thing. So 2 key data points going into tomorrow. And while we had Meta earnings today, we will also have some giant earnings tomorrow. So Tom, what's on the schedule?
Yeah, one of the big guys, Mike, Apple, and then also Amazon are reporting tomorrow night, along with Intel and Pinterest. So watch out. Even T-Mobile and US Steel are sprinkled in there tomorrow night. Before open, we're going to see Shopify, McDonald's, Caterpillar, Southwest Airlines, and MasterCard. So we're in earnings season, guys. It's obviously going to be a fun-filled day tomorrow with all these crazy moves. We've been having a lot of crazy moves already this week with Google, Microsoft, and Meta. Now we get to see how Apple and Amazon do tomorrow, Mike. And, you know, Apple has not done too well. It kind of fell down with Microsoft so far this week. So I hope that they can report some good numbers. But I know all eyes are going to be on deck there.
Yeah, you know it. One key way I like to play earnings is actually the earnings continuation setup. So I know there's always a lot of hype, you know, buying a stock before earnings because you either see a giant explosion up or you see a giant explosion down. But honestly, a lot of times there's still a lot of great opportunity playing stocks after they report earnings with a little bit less risk. Here's a couple key examples. Like, let's say we look at Netflix. They reported earnings, and yes, they popped up at first, but they just kept running, you know? So when you have stocks that pop up with earnings, you know, yeah, you might not get in before the earnings release, but that does not mean that all of the opportunity is gone after they report. And this works in both ways, whether it's the upside or the downside. So keep in mind, like with these stocks, whether it's Meta, Amazon, Shopify, whatever, it's like you don't always have to buy in before earnings. Like a lot of times you can just trade right after earnings and still have a pretty good setup.
Yeah, you know, Mike, and that almost even worked with Enphase today, honestly. Like you can see they had earnings last night and did pretty well, and then they had a nice continuation up here at open. And, you know, it looks like they're pretty strong right now. It might even be a pretty good stock to keep on your radar heading into tomorrow. So that's a pretty good way to play earnings. I know, Mike, a lot of people like to gamble on far out of the money calls and puts. And while that can pay off sometimes, obviously, though, that strategy really doesn't work too well in the longer term. But obviously, you know, Mike, sometimes people can't resist themselves. And, you know, I know even me and you play some earnings every once in a while. I will say, though, I only do a couple a year.
Yeah, it's rare. No doubt about that. Tom, so before we get into some of our favorite setups for tomorrow, we have to showcase this absolutely amazing trade with our bot. Guys, we've been talking about our bot so much over the past 2 weeks, and it is just doing better and better and better. So today's play was one of the best plays in a while. It called out the BABA 65 strike calls at $222. At highs today, it was all the way at $510 each. It popped up by 89% within the first hour of the alert. And from the alert price to the high price for the day, it popped by nearly 130%. If you're looking for plays like this, Check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bot does an amazing job. Of course, not every single play wins, but it just does absolutely amazing. You get access to daily options alerts, daily swing plays, custom bots, a private community. You can cancel at any time, and we have an automatic discount code running right now for your first month. So definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. What are you watching?
Yeah, Mike, and I'm really watching one of the biggest stocks in the market and one of the most popular stocks out there, and that is Tesla. They have actually been on quite the uptrend over the past few days. You guys can see it's honestly been stair-stepping very nicely to the upside, and we're honestly bouncing right off of a key support right around 224. But I will say, Mike, while Tesla's been moving to the upside, I am honestly going to be watching them for a potential pop back down. Now, in the event they do move up, there's a very nice high of day to watch at $230. That's a nice resistance. If we break it, watch for a move up. But honestly, I'm looking for a move down. They just can't. Well, there was a lot of news that came out today that they are reportedly under a DOJ criminal probe over self-driving claims. Says down here their autopilot has been under investigation for a year now already, but obviously for the Department of Justice to get in here now, that is not good to see, Mike. So watch out for Tesla. It could see some volatility over the next few days between this news and obviously Elon buying Twitter has been kind of shaking up Tesla a little bit too.
Gotcha. So Tom, one stock I'm watching very closely is Tilray, TLRY. This stock is a little bit unusual for me to talk about because it is a low price stock, but it's in a unique situation right now. So it's trading for $3.70. It has all-time highs of $300 from a couple years ago, which is absolutely insane. And in 2021, it has highs of around $66, right? This stock is like the definition of crazy. Every now and then it has a gigantic move, and it is in the marijuana industry. What I like about this setup is that it's very low right now. It's a stock that tends to be like either like it's just like a crazy stock when most of the time it does nothing, but every now and then it just straight up explodes. We are heading into the midterms, which will be very important, especially given this stock is in the marijuana industry. This stock has a long history of just crazy moves. It's at a low level. So for Tilray, I'm going to watch it very, very closely to the upside over the next couple weeks and months. This is not a play for tomorrow. It's not a play for Friday. This play will likely take time to develop, but it's low now. It's holding its ground. And, it's holding its ground, and we have midterms coming up. So I have to keep it on my watch list.
Yeah, those midterms are actually pretty big, Mike. I know my state, which is Missouri, is actually looking to legalize marijuana this year for recreational use. So obviously a lot of other states are probably having that on the ballot too, which could maybe boost some of these stocks. So yeah, definitely watch it, guys. And also, depending which party wins can also affect marijuana stocks, which we know as well. So that's going to be big, Mike. But talking about some crazy stocks lately, I'm actually keeping my eyes on some oil stocks again. So I know that I keep talking about these stocks just about every week, but they keep moving back to the upside, Mike. And with inflation so high, they are continuing to break out here. And ZOM pushed up to a new high here today. So I'm going to keep it on the radar. I honestly think this one can go either way. I'm really going to be looking for a move down because there's a very nice resistance here around 107.50. And I think if we move below this 107 intraday support, I think we could possibly see a bit of a pop back to the downside. So let's watch it, guys. It's very overextended. If it does break that resistance up there, though, watch for a potential breakout up. But like I said, I'm watching for a pullback with that overextension.
Sounds good. Another play I'm watching is GLD. So this is basically a gold ETF. Gold prices have been very mediocre. It's just kind of been like a letdown over the past year. Inflation's been high, which is good for gold, but the problem is that the dollar has just been exploding so much, which has limited gold and other precious metals' potential to move up. We are finally starting to see the dollar fall down, which is actually a good sign for gold. So that's really good. So I'm watching gold for a potential move to the upside over the next couple days or so, when you have the dollar falling like this, like I said, it's a good sign for gold. And if the dollar keeps falling like this, it will definitely put increased buying pressure on GLD.
Yeah, it really will, Mike. And I love this support on GLD down here. And I think it's about time. The dollar had a bit of a downtrend, especially with the holidays coming up. We might see some of these companies maybe report some increased numbers, obviously, with inflation being so high and people spending so much for gifts and everything. So I'm interested, Mike. Hopefully we see a bit of an uptrend, and it's very nice to see the dollar and some of these yields actually starting to fall down too. Can't forget about the 10-year.
True. Yeah, that's been crazy. But Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Google to the downside. Google actually had a pretty bad day.
Yes, they definitely did, Mike. And we talked a little bit about those earnings continuation plays. If Google breaks below $94 even tomorrow, I will watch it for another drop down. Just be careful with it. It's obviously still pretty volatile.
All right, with the next one, we have PDD to the upside.
Yeah, it was nice to see these China stocks recover back up today, Mike. They're kind of filling that gap from Monday. If PDD can break above resistance at 55, I'll definitely be looking at that one for calls.
All right, with the next one, we have DraftKings also to the upside.
DKNG, really nice day, all the way up to 1520, which is a nice resistance there. But honestly, if they can recover back up above 1480, I would watch for a push all the way up towards those highs.
All right, so we're watching DraftKings and PDD for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. And then we're watching Google, or GOOGL, for potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. Tom, tomorrow will be such a crazy day. You have the combination of the movement we saw today, plus just Meta earnings, plus upcoming earnings tomorrow, plus GDP data. It's going to be crazy. Do you have any final words?
Yeah, as far as the movement tomorrow, Mike, I'm honestly hoping for a good number here on those GDP reports. If we see some good numbers, I think we could possibly see some positivity come back in. So let's pray, guys. Meta's not setting us up well, but we do have Apple reporting tomorrow, which will be even more influential, along with Amazon right ahead of holidays. So let's go, guys. Hopefully we see a nice turnaround. I know the SPY fell down a little bit today and ended up in the red 0.75%, but overall, or especially early on, we did have a very nice move. So let's see a nice continuation. But honestly, it's going to be pretty hard with all these stocks falling down in after hours.
Yep. And we can't end the video without talking about the $1 million options trade that I saw today. So some whale loaded up on the CGC $3.50 strike call options that expire on January 20th of 2023. For those of you who don't know, CGC is also another marijuana stock. Midterms are coming up. CGC is double bottoming right at support. You're looking at a slightly out of the money call option with some time. It's a very tempting play. CGC also has earnings coming up as well. This play really caught my eye. When you see a hedge fund or a whale putting $1 million into out of the money call options with a little bit of time on a marijuana stock with midterms coming up, it's like, tell me that's not just a little bit suspicious. So keep it on your radar.
Yeah, 100%, Mike. I tried to draw out kind of how I could see CGC potentially going here. There is some pretty key resistances, like at $4 and another huge one up there at $5. Hopefully we could get up there, Mike. That would be an amazing move to even go up that much. So yeah, let's see it. These marijuana stocks are extremely low. I know you mentioned Tilray earlier and talked a lot about them then, but it's going to be huge. It's a big event. I know Biden even talked about marijuana stocks a little while ago, Mike. Remember, he kind of pardoned some people for possession. And then I also remember he asked the DOJ, or he asked somebody like Congress or somebody to kind of review their classification of the drug. So maybe that could end up playing a role as well.
Yeah, like any positive or like any relatively positive news with, anything in the marijuana industry has proven to boost marijuana stocks in the past. So keep that in mind. For those of you who are a little bit confused by like call options and strike prices and all that stuff, long story short, when you have someone buying call options, it means they want the stock to go up, just so you guys know. And they put around $1 million into these calls. So keep it on your watch list. It's definitely an interesting setup to watch for the next couple weeks and the next couple months. Before we close out, I want to say definitely subscribe if you have not already. We post brand new videos every single day. Also, giant shout out to our member of the day, Rolla. You've been in the Stocked Up Discord chat for over 2 years now, and you're still active to this day. Definitely keep it up. Guys, if you want these daily options alerts from our bot, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bot has been crushing it lately. Today's play popped for 130%. Worst case scenario, you can cancel at any time. And last but not least, check out this video on the screen right now. It goes a lot more in depth as to what's really driving the markets and what you need to know going forward.